Digging through the past is not that hard. Rusted cars and broken shards, mining memories in an old wrecking yard. Echoes of laughter, whispers of pain. Time stands still, but the memories remain in this graveyard of steel. Welcome to the Wrecking Yard. I'm Jerry Wayne Longmire, and y'all are presumably still y'all. All, of course, are welcome here in the Church of Internal Combustion. Just ask that you show up with an open heart. Being a business owner in this country is a tough go. The deck is pretty much stacked against you from the very beginning. Now, don't get me wrong, I've made some money at it, but the cost is high. That's not to be taken as discouragement. I just see too many folks waving the entrepreneur banner in everyone's face like it's the ultimate answer. And they never seem to discuss the downsides. It reminds me of when, maybe y'all remember when Mike Rowe told everybody's kid that wasn't going to college, they needed to be a welder. You know, there was a time where they were telling every kid in this country, you need to be a welder. You need to be a welder. Everybody go to welding school, be a welder. And now there's more half-ass welding schools around this country than there are welding jobs. You know, just out there taking folks' money and train them for some job that ain't gonna be there. You know, it was no less damaging than when they told every kid to go to college. That was my generation. Every kid need to go to college. We ain't all meant for that. And honestly, most colleges have just become profit centers. And I know both. I know people with college degrees have pursued their careers and done very well for themselves, and I know people with college careers that it really hasn't done much for them. But today I'm going to tell you some stories about a period of my life where I was working with a bunch of kids who didn't go to welding school and didn't go to college. They really worked their ass off and taught me a better understanding of Gen Z and some of the late millennials than I had previously. But before we get too deep, let's take care of our sponsors. Our new sponsor, the Pulliam's Training Stables, down there in South California, Mr. Daniel Pulliam. Pulliam, I keep screwing his name up. Sorry about that, Daniel. It's thetrainedhorse.com. You can go there. It's also on their logo. Y'all know, I'm not a horse guy. I don't, but I might get on one of Daniel's horses if he had one big enough. You know what I mean? The thing is, it's owned and operated by the family. It's decades of experience training horses and instructing. They offer lessons to all ages, private one-on-one lessons. There's no groups, which I've always thought private one-on-one is a better way to teach somebody something, especially something like horseback riding. They got custom lesson programs for children and adults with disabilities. I talked about it last week. There's a ton of substantial data out there to reinforce the idea that people with disabilities and people with PTSD can really benefit from equine training. So they got horse training for horses of all levels and ages too. So if you got a problem horse or horse you're having trouble getting to do what you need it to do, you know, like night run sideways across the pasture with somebody on the back of it screaming their head off, you might need to look into them. Trainedhorse.com. Thank you guys. Also, our dear friends, the Everyone Racers podcast. Y'all know I've spilled my guts to you about how much I love these guys. It's one of my favorite podcasts to listen to on the road. I love hearing all the racing stories. I like just daydream going down the road. One of my favorite parts of the episode every time is where they break down something that's for sale on racingjunk.com, because then I just get to daydream about what would I do if I bought a Lotus, you know? But I love this podcast. You should go check it out. They talk about amateur endurance racing and everything having anything to do with that. It's four co-hosts together, and they're all just fantastic. It's really entertaining. Go check it out. Everyone Racers podcast. All right. Let's see. Oh, it is Thursday evening here in the wrecking yard, and I don't know why I told you that, but it's Thursday evening here in the wrecking yard, and the weather's not too bad. It's what does it look like? About 65 here in the shop. It's not too terrible. A little cooler outside. I am tired. Oh, not only that, I'm not just tired. I didn't really want to do this episode. I feel like it's necessary, but I did want to do it. There's a lot of negativity in this one. Not about them kids and people that work for me, but about a dude I went into business with, and this is really just a. Oof, this is just not good. I didn't want to do it, but need to do it, so we're gonna do it. Spent all day, most of the day yesterday, doing maintenance on the old Zoom, the old Mazda. I've been running her hard, you know. These late night cannonball runs all across the state of Texas on this tour, and old girl just needed a little upkeep. Not much. It's a Mazda. You ain't got to do a lot to it, but you know all the basic stuff. Clean out the air filter housing, clean off the old air filter, and did all the brakes all the way around the car. Because I never really I bought the car, I don't know, 6 7 months ago, and it stopped, so I didn't screw with the brakes. But then the other night I pulled up to a store. I was on the way back home. I pulled up to a store and had just a slightly elevated, just like a little minorly elevated parking space. And I parked the Mazda in that parking space, and I got out and I went in the store, and I was getting a can of dip, and I was paying for my dip, and just happened to look out and see the Mazda ever so slowly just roll out of the parking space and into the parking lot. And thank the Lord nobody's coming, nobody run over me. I mean, I was gonna do some scam. I ain't gonna lie. I was gonna run out there and be like, "What the hell, man? I was just parked in the park. You can give me a ticket. I wasn't driving that car. The ghost did that." Yeah, it just rolled right out in the parking lot with the emergency brake fully engaged. And so, man, I might do something about that when I get home. So, I fixed the emergency brake, reset it, readjusted, did all the brake pads. I also come back from New Braunfels the other night. It was like pea soup fog. It was so thick. I mean, you couldn't see more than 2 or 3 car lengths in front of you. Of course, I was going slower because I'm not an idiot. But I smacked something. I think it was I suspect it was a big jackrabbit. A jackrabbit, maybe a fox. I just saw it briefly. Maybe it was a jackalope. I had a jackalope in the Mazda. That's the Mazda's new name. That's the jackalope. I had a jackalope in the Mazda. Whatever I hit had just enough density to put a little crease in the fender, in the front passenger fender down the low end, but also knock all the rivets out of the fender liner. So I had to go around, you know, finding those old body rivets. You sit there in AutoZone for 45 minutes, thumbing through them all. And they're never the ones that say your car manufacturer's name on it, or never the ones that you need. Anyways, I finally found some. Managed to attach the fender liner all back up where it belongs, and some of the air dam that was all jacked up too. Whatever I smacked was solid. Yeah, I smacked the piss out of it. Anyway, she's all ready to hit the road again in the AM, uh, the early AM again. I am having too many early days to be a comedian lately. I do not necessarily enjoy that, but I'm hitting the road in the morning. I got to be in Waco around 3:30 for some rehearsal time. And then we got the show in Waco tomorrow night, the Waco Hippodrome, which is honestly one of the biggest theaters I've ever performed in. And it's a pretty majestic, incredible experience, especially if you know about the history of the Hippodrome and what it means to Texas. So I'm psyched about playing that. My saddest thing about the Waco Hippodrome is I never got to play it when my mom was alive. I got to play it years after she passed, but that would have been a place I would have really liked her to come see me. And I always think about her when I'm there. So I'm excited to go to Waco. Then I'm going to leave Waco after the show and I'm going to head to Walnut Springs and stay at my good buddy John Clay Wolf's house and get up and do the John Clay Wolf show in the morning Saturday. So if you listen to John K. Wolf regularly, you're gonna catch me a Saturday. You know, I've been on there quite a bit. Me and him are buddies. Uh, anyway, so I'm looking forward to being on his show Saturday morning. And then I got rehearsal at noon in Grapevine, and then we got 2 shows in Grapevine. And I think we're gonna have a little impromptu Christmas party at William Lee Martin's house, and then I gotta get up Sunday and haul ass back here to be with you good folks for the Wrecking Yard podcast. And then I'm done till after Christmas, which is nice. Now I just get to be home with the family. And hope you guys are all prepped for Christmas. I've got the wife's gifts taken care of, and we got some cool stuff for the kiddos. And Mama made it easy on me this year. She just wanted some new tattoo work, and so called up my good friend Randy Lee over at Bayou City Body Shop and Bayou City Tattoos if you're in Houston. Randy Lee's one of the best. Randy Lee did my Jaybird. Me and Randy Lee have known each other for a great deal of time. Y'all probably heard me talk about him in some of the earlier episodes. Boy, I'm hemming and hawing trying to keep him getting into this. Told y'all I didn't want to do this. Anyways, we're looking forward to wrapping up the Christmas tour. I love doing it. I love being a part of a production. It's more than stand up's very lonely. You go out, even when you work with somebody, travel with somebody, it's a very lonely gig. So being a part of a production like this is like a whole different thing. It's like a ensemble people that we all kind of got to have our shit together to make this thing hit. And but it has been exhausting trying to stay on the road and also do content and also find the time to write this. So I'm ready for a nice little break before the show changes over to the new format. And I've really been spent a lot of these late nights on the highway studying what that's going to look like. I'd like to tell you I have all the answers, have it nailed down. That's just not true. Some of y'all are going to be just as surprised on episode 31 as I am. Anyways, let's talk about this old 1-ton Chevrolet truck that I bought from none other than Paul Rushing himself. In order to tell these stories properly, I kind of got to go back and fill you in some stuff I didn't really talk about on previous episodes. But uh, in the second episode of the GMC, my 2000 GMC Z71, we discussed my roof fall, me falling off the roof. And we didn't really get into why I was leaving April Sound and what all was going on. But what had happened is I had a contract with this property, April Sound, for quite a long time. It's one of the longest times I've stayed anywhere at one time. And I had this contract with them. And originally, when I first began working for them, my contract was through their property management company, and they were okay guys. But when you got a board of when you got a well, I need to kickstart HOA board, homeowner association board, that's in charge of a property, and then you'll have sometimes you'll have a property management company, and the property management company basically their job is to oversee how the funds are spent, keep track of all that, and make sure that these guys don't do anything stupid that breaks the law. And in HOAs, try to break the law all the time because they're made up of normal people who are deeply invested in being in everybody else's business, and they do a lot of stupid stuff and cause all kind of problems. At one time, they had me put hunting cameras all over the property to see who was, I forgot what it was. I forgot what they were trying to figure out. We were having a bunch of vandalism. I worked for these guys. I just did my job. I went out, bought the cameras they told me to buy, and set them up around property. And of course, then people tried to sue them because it's against the law to videotape people unless you have like a security license or whatever the shit here in Texas. There's always some kind of law you need something. That kind of stuff. They did that kind of stuff all the time. I didn't mind. I enjoyed working for that property for a long time. I had a good relationship with the main members of the HOA who remained steady for some period of time. But what happened is the man that was president for years and years and years, and he was very good at keeping things on an even keel. He passed away. And when he passed away, it just left a vacuum for everybody that was trying to figure out a way to make some money on this property. And there became a bit of a tussle to see who would be the new president of the HOA. And all of a sudden, a lot of HOA members left. They want to be on this new board. They didn't like all the drama and everything. And it was certainly hard working underneath them when all this was going on because nobody was making any decisions about anything. At some point, they got a new board in there. And in the course of time I was with this property, I went through about 3 boards, and that was okay. Uh, the last incantation, of course, being my favorite. That was when Mr. Jack Harlan became president, and Jack was a man's man. He was early '80s, but he was a man's man. He was easy to understand. He didn't mix words. Very transparent. He'd come out and cuss you about something, but he'd also apologize to you and try to help you get it right. He's a good dude. I love Jack a great deal. Helped me and Rachel get our first house. He was a good friend to me, and he looked after me when Rachel's dad died, and I fell behind in work because I was trying to keep up with all that. But at some point, what happens with a lot of properties is somebody gets their nose bent out of joint about something, and I can't remember this heifer's name, but she had a bunch of short-term rentals. Sometimes they're VRBO, Airbnb type stuff, and what was happening is she was renting her places out in this property out on the lake over the weekends, and these short-term rental people were showing up and doing all kind of damage to property and partying, getting cops called out. There was all kind of problems. You know, she had basically turned 2 of these condos into party houses. Well, the rest of the property owners decided they didn't really want that in the neighborhood, and they decided start trying to get rid of it. Of course, this is my right to income, and she went about it all the wrong ways, but she recruited another guy on the property, a guy named Richard Abel, who's nothing short of a first class piece of shit, a lying, garbage human being. And boy, me and him had it out a couple times. But they started going around. What they did, it was tricky, but this is what they did. Most of that condominium complex was elderly people. And they went door to door and convinced these elderly people to give them their vote. And they promised them all the bullshit in the world and how great the property was going to get. And there's going to be ramps on ramps and sidewalks on sidewalks. And you're never even going to be able to hear the kids at the swimming pool again. And by God, we're just going to fix it all. Mind you, this is about a 30-year-old property that was never built for year-round living. It was built to be vacation homes, and it was built shitty. Foundation problems, framing problems, roofing issues, you name it. This property had plumbing issues out the wazoo. You name it, this property had a problem with it. Now, rather than fix any of those issues, they were going to spend a bunch of money doing everything but that. But they were going to fix it all. It was a funny song and dance to us maintenance people because we had been taking care of the place and we knew what kind of shape the place was in. I spent a great deal of my time reporting to the board about what was going on the property. Writing long, this is when Bob taught me publish or perish. This is when Mr. Bob taught me that stuff, and I put it to work immediately. Long, detailed reports about what could be done to fix what around that property and such. regardless, these people went around and they tricked a bunch of elderly people into giving them their vote, and they took over the board and decided a new board was going to be sworn in June. And I decided that I'd had enough board changes. I didn't want to work out there anymore. I didn't want to go through what was about to happen on that property because I knew those people were about to get screwed, and I'm the guy they saw every day, and I knew who they were going to take it out on. Get your ass off, Elvis. Do you have any respect, damn old bug? So I made the decision to leave. And I told y'all a little bit about that. I left June 15th. In fact, the entire board walked out, and I left with the board in support of the board. We all walked out at the same time. But these people who I'd taken care of for 10 years, like if you'd seen the way they treated me and Terry Smart Jr., we were leaving this property. I had all my tools there. I had to load up all my equipment, all my tools. They were out there taking video, saying we were stealing stuff from the property, just saying hateful shit to us. It was one of those things where I was like, yeah, it was time to go. Ready to get gone from here. I didn't have a dog in the fight anymore. I knew the people taking over were just going to run the place in the ground. And I wasn't wrong. Time has proven that those people didn't do anything to benefit the property, and a whole bunch of money went missing. So you tell me who the bad guy was. Whole bunch of money went missing. Whole bunch of money. Like to the tune of, I think they lost $1 million. That didn't happen while I was there. It didn't happen with the board I was working for. It happened afterwards. But I felt some peace. I had had my own side company for a while, and I'd been doing big things. And I've been talking to this guy, and we'll talk a little more about him. But the guy did all the foundation repair out of the property. I've been doing some jobs with him, talking to him, and seriously looking. I liked. I didn't like painting and doing the fluff work. I like doing, and I shouldn't say that. Painters are badass. I'm not a good painter. I have a deep respect for really good painters. I have a deep respect for really good. I'm a pretty decent drywall guy, but I got a deep respect for the guys like my buddy Terry Smart Jr., best drywall man in Texas. I'm telling you, guy's incredible. I have a deep respect for people who are good at their craft. Those just weren't the things I enjoyed as much. I come from engineering, even though didn't go to school or whatever. I grew up in NDT, working in the nuclear field stuff. I understood drawings, understood the way things are supposed to work structurally. And I was way more invested in how to repair things structurally and how to build things structurally than I was in, repainting rotten siding. I was kind of excited. I was excited. And I think I told y'all that. I sort of felt like I had made a big decision and I was okay with it. I'd made my peace with it. And then about a month after that, I fell off a roof and reset my entire life, and everything we had worked for kind of went up in smoke. And I didn't know what to do. Like once I got to where I could walk and work again, it was still hard. I had brain swelling, so I had to pay somebody. I had this kid that worked for me for a bunch named Corey. Corey was good. He was all right kid, He has some flaws, but shit, we all do. But I did. I used to pay Corey to drive me around because I couldn't be trusted to drive anymore. I was falling asleep at red lights and stoplights, and damn if that won't wear you out. I remember one of the funniest things happened in the recovery from that roof fall. I was just scrambling to make $1. I didn't have any jobs. All my, for one, I had these people over here bad mouthing me, and some of the other people I was getting to work with, it just wasn't enough. I didn't have enough. And I had plans before the roof fall. I was just kind of taking my time. I had decided I was going to do one of two things. I was either A, going to take this deal and get in the foundation repair business, or B, I was going to go buy an old box truck, some type, and I was going to build a mobile handyman service out of that truck and build it up until I could afford to buy another truck and hire somebody to work with me. And I had a plan, had a little bit of capital to do something with, not a lot. I tell you what happens when you make plans. After that roof fall, man, I was scrambling so hard to get back on my feet again that probably did a little more damage to myself in the process. Certainly did some. Boy, that I don't know how we made it. That's one of those. If we make it through December. I fell off that roof in July. That was a weak ass Christmas. I can tell you that, man. That was a tough Christmas to be a dad. I was really struggling. I was getting some jobs, but hell, I couldn't do half the things I could do before. I couldn't get off a ladder, couldn't get on a roof. I couldn't even get off a ladder. My legs would start shaking and shit. I was so terrified to get back on a roof after I busted my brain up. My brain wasn't 100%. We were still reeling from the loss of Rachel's father. We were still trying to process that and go through all that. That had just happened that year. Sometime after my mom had passed and my dad decided to move up to East Texas, he gave me that boat. That old, I told y'all the story about we almost sunk that Four Wind Horizon, little 18-foot boat. He gave me that boat, and I think I took that boat on Lake Conroe about 3 times. But the problem is Lake Conroe is like 90% bulkheaded, so there's nowhere for the energy to go on the waves. It just all gets bounced back out in the lake. So after about noon on a weekend, that lake is too choppy for an 18-foot boat. You're just bouncing everywhere you go. Wasn't a fun experience. It was okay if you got out there in the morning, you got out there in the evening, but I also didn't have much use for a ski boat. I wasn't doing a lot of skiing. My kids are very small. And that boat, I put it in storage for a while and I spent a bunch of money putting that boat in storage. This is how you lose money on a boat that you're given for free. It wasn't a super valuable boat. I think at the time it was worth about $6,000, $7,000. But I had that boat in storage and racked up a bunch of storage fees. And, that gets expensive after a while. And after a while, you're like, what the hell am I paying this for? And after everything happened, the roof fall, I couldn't afford to keep that boat in storage anymore. So me and Rachel went over one day and we got the boat out of storage and we backed it up in our driveway. I checked everything out on it, put a boat cover on it, made sure the bilge plug was out of it. Because by then I knew what a bilge plug was for. Took the bilge plug out of it, just in case it got some water in it, and backed it up right in my driveway. And even though I had to walk by it every day, I forgot about it because I just wasn't, I couldn't have climbed in that boat if I needed to. I was still, hell, I was still on crutches some of that time. And then I was on a cane for a long time after that with still a walking boot on. Sometime around Christmas, we had all kind of storms, big old gully washer storms. And that's kind of Texas for you around Christmas, a bunch of rainstorms. And boy, they were big ones up there in Willis, just pissing down rain. I still didn't think about the boat. Hey, the bilge plug's out of the boat. No reason for the boat to have water in it. Funny how life will prove you wrong about some shit. I know I went out there one day in the driveway. I was trying to find something to do. I was going crazy. I've been on this cane for a while. Wasn't feeling myself. And concerned about finances and this and that and the other. And one day I just happened to walk out there in the driveway and I noticed that one of the tires on the boat trailer was low. And I thought, well, that's something I can do something about. So I flipped the air compressor on and charged the air compressor up real good. Went out there on my cane and hobbled out there with my air hose and started trying to air that tire up. And that tire would not air up. It looked like it was stretching. And I thought, what the hell? And I lost my balance a little bit. And when I did, I reached out and put my hand on that boat. And when I did, the whole boat rocked. And all I heard was sloshing. And my stomach turned over. Because I knew that whole boat was full of water. I peeled the cover up on that boat. And it wasn't nothing but green water right up to the freaking steering wheel. It'll happen. Immediately go back there to that bilge plug. And there's something blocking the bilge plug hole. Took a screwdriver and jammed it up in there and worked it out. And what had happened is my dad had a battery charger sitting in one of the under the seat in the back of that boat, or in the back in the bilge compartment, in a cardboard box. And it had rained enough that that cardboard box come apart, and a piece of that cardboard floated down and plugged up that bilge hole and filled that boat up with water. And then it sat for a month with all that water in it. And of course, it drained. Felt like it took a day to drain. Boy, you talk about just feeling sick. Like, this boat's ruined. I didn't know what to do. I knew it was going to need all new cables. I knew the engine. It was a what do you call that? Stern drive, little Volvo engine in it. So full of water. The engine's going to have to be gone through cables. Pretty much all the electrical components, and who knows what else is ruined on that boat now. So basically, all I got is a fiberglass shell that ain't worth shit. And luckily, I found there was a little boat place down the street. I went and talked to the guy. He said, if you're not in a hurry, he said, I can do it all for about $3,000 and I'll help you sell it if you just want to sell it. Because I told him, I was like, I just want to get rid of the damn thing. I don't use it and think it's costing me money. And that old dude, his name's Tim. He's got a little boat shop right there on 1097 on the north end of Lake Conroe. And I will suggest to you, if you need boat work, go see Tim, because Tim did me right. Not only did he replace everything on that boat, but he sold it for me for about $4,500. So I came out with at least $1,500 in my pocket when it was all said and done, after paying for the repairs, of course. Ooh, I was happy to see that some 50 go. Still didn't know what I was going to do, but I still had a few jobs, and I was taking Corey with me. And me and Corey would go and do these jobs, mostly plumbing and stuff like that. And working for old Tom Wynn. I was doing a bunch of work for him. And the guy with the foundation company, he was sending me some jobs he didn't want to do. He was sending us level some houses, do some stuff like that. And I'd get out there on my cane and lay down on the ground, drag my ass under these houses, and help Corey stack blocks, and we would level some houses. had a few little jobs that needed more than just us. And told Corey, I said, man, you got any friends that come work with us? You got a friend that needs to make a little money? I was paying Corey cash by the day. Corey said, yeah, man, I got my best buddy, man. He's looking for extra work right now. He works at night at a restaurant, but he's looking for something that pays him a little better. I said, is he hard worker? He said, yeah, he's a damn hard worker. I said, man, but he's kind of a trip. He said, I'll bring him with me tomorrow if you want. We were going to start this job over in Grand Harbor. I said, yeah, man. And uh, we were leveling a porch on the side of a house, big old stucco porch that had started sinking because of some water leaks. We had already fixed all the water leaks, but we're going to dig up under this porch and jack it up and pour some concrete and stabilize this porch. Basically, put some piers under it. I said, yeah, we need an extra hand for the digging. I can't do much on this air boot, this walking boot. Of course, he says, yeah, man, I'll bring him with me tomorrow. Next morning, I get to the job site. Corey pulls up. I said, where's your buddy? He said, he's on the way. He'll be here in just a little bit. I hear him before I see him. He's bumping South Park Mexican. Wiggy, 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 wiggy. He comes around the corner and he's in a black, I think it was like a 2006 Cadillac. And he pulls up his Cadillac and he's kind of a heavy set kid. He's got a black do-rag on like Tupac, tied in the front. And gets out and he walks up with big gold big chain on and got a little bit of a beard. And he walks up and immediately introduced himself. My name's Josh Anderson. And Corey said, you're looking for some help. Real polite kid right off the bat. I liked him right off the bat. Right off the bat, I liked this kid. First time met him. And he wasn't the most athletic dude, but the dude worked, man. That's why it always bothers me when I hear people talking, when I hear people fat shame people and stuff like that. I grew up on job sites. I've been around fat people on job sites all my life, dude. I know a Mexican dude that all his friends call him Gordo. That's twice my size. He'll outdig everybody in the comment section. The guy's just a working fool, And Joshua was kind of a heavy boy, not as big as me, but the boy worked, man. He'd get out there and dig his ass off. He would get after it. I liked him, so I kept him on. Man, I remember at the end of that day, I gave him his money. I said, man, make sure you come back tomorrow. He did. He kept coming back. Still wasn't really making enough money to get by. We're still struggling. One of the funniest things, back when Josh had that Cadillac one day, I told I had to go over a lumber yard over in there was a little lumber yard over in Cut and Shoot, Texas. And I had to go over there and get a bunch of concrete blocks and load them in the back of the truck to take out the job site. We were going to level something, a house or something. A bunch of cinder blocks and solid blocks. I'm over there waiting at the lumber yard, talking to the little old fellow worked at the lumber yard, little old redneck fella, and he was just a rattling on to me about all the gang problems they've been having in Cut and Shoot. There's a whole shootout at Taco Bell in Conroe, and they were having all kind of gang problems. And he was watching out for them Crips and Bloods to be showing up. And well, he just was dead on serious telling me all this. Me being from Houston was just sort of laughing about it, like, okay, buddy, yeah, but I live here. I haven't seen any of this happen, but okay, He's just prattling on about it. Meanwhile, I got Josh and Corey coming to meet me at the lumberyard, help me load these blocks. Josh pulls into that lumberyard in that Cadillac with that do-rag on. And Corey, I guess, was being funny. He had tied his handkerchief around like a do-rag, too. And they pulled into that parking lot, bumping some hip-hop music really loud. And old lumberyard boy lost his shit. Good God, here they are. Duck, get down. This fool was ducking and diving. He thought the blood should have showed up to get him. He thought they done come to get his ass. And I was kind of embarrassed. I was like, they're actually with me. They're here to load the blocks. Oh. Boy, he didn't like it, boy. He was staring at him the whole time. Get out and load them blocks. I didn't really have enough hours to keep two guys on, and Corey wanted to go do some other stuff. And Corey said, man, I'm going to go take this other job and go do this other stuff. And Josh decided to stay with me. Me and Josh, we were taking whatever little jobs I could get at the time, but it wasn't easy, you know. It was hard work. You got a crippled guy and another dude that don't really know how to do shit. Josh was a good worker, but he didn't know a lot of stuff yet. And I was trying to teach him, but you can only do so much in such a period of time. Skills take time to build. I can teach anybody how to do drywall, but until you do it, a good 2 or 3 thousand hours, you ain't gonna be worth a damn at it. Those things take practice. They take time. Josh was funny. Josh had never been around somebody that just worked until there wasn't work left to do. Josh had been a 9 to 5 guy before that. He hadn't worked in a situation where you just work till there's no work left to do. I mean, we were working right up to December. Me and him, I have pictures of us that Christmas Eve just in order to make money to make sure I could pay rent in January. We worked right up to Christmas Eve, remodeling. Basically, we went up into this 3-story, 2-story house, and he had a bunch of attic space, and we built an extra add-on closet, all these crazy angles and all this stuff for this guy. We had already done some structural work on his garage ceiling. When they built it, they spanned too far, and it was all sagging. So we went in there and put some saddle plates and stiffened that up. I'd become friends with this engineer named Ernie DeLuca. Ernie DeLuca was a state engineer, and he did all the engineering work for the foundation company, but he also did all the engineering work for the property and quite a few other places in town. And Ernie needed a guy to tackle some of those structural repairs and stuff. And he'd given me some books and some literature and kind of taken some time and explained some principles to me. And I'd learned how to do saddle plates really well. And I'd learned how to stiffen ceilings up. And man, we did one. This is a fun one. We did one. So there was this property on the side of 45 in the Woodlands. God, what was the name of that? Lennar Homes. It was a Lennar Homes property. And my God, these are some of the. So you can get away with code by building 2-foot centers in Texas. And they had built the homes in this property on 2-foot centers. And Ernie called me. So I got a problem with this house out here. He said, I'm going to warn you, this thing's built on 2-foot centers. It's the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen in your life. But her ceiling's starting to sag, because there ain't enough ceiling there. He said, let's see if you go over there and take a look at it. See if you can fix it. I said, man, yeah. Me and Josh go over there. By then, I got the walking boot off. I can kind of move around. This lady was the most neurotic person I ever met in my life. She was terrified of everything. She sat on her couch every day watching The View and all that stuff, and she was scared of everything outside of that house. She didn't like to leave the house. She didn't want anybody coming in the house. She understood she needed to get the work done, but she really didn't like us being in her house. And of course, we come down, we put plastic down and heavy duty paper where we're going to be getting in and out of the attic all the time. She was just a paranoid mess. Every time we'd make a noise in the attic, oh my God, what was that? Oh my God, what was that? And when I tell you this house was flimsy, I'm telling you, I could stand on one corner of the house and fart against the window, and it would make the windows move on the other end of the house. It was a flimsy piece of shit that she paid way too much money for to live in the woodlands. And then, well, I tell you what, I worked on a bunch of them Lennar homes. Whew, not me, buddy. Not me. We got up there in that attic, boy, we found all kind of problems. Beams are warping, this and that. So we had to run sister beams and put saddle plates up in there, and of course, then go downstairs with a jack and jack those warp beams up, and then put those saddle plates on under a load so that you could release the tension and come back to level. And I'd gotten real good at it. I could pretty much eyeball it. Me and Josh are doing those things. Of course, every time we let one of the beams down, there's a bunch of cracking noise and everything. And little old lady down here just freaks out. Josh, to his credit, this time hadn't spent a lot of time working in attics. He was a little clumsy in the beginning. Josh wears about a size 14, big old shoe. He's a good sized boy. We call him Moose for a long time. I went out in the truck to get something. Josh was up in the attic moving some of the plates around for me. I went out in the truck to get something. And I come back in and I'm standing in the kitchen. I'm on the phone and she's sitting there on the TV watching her show. And I heard Josh go, "Oh shit." And then I just saw this giant foot come through the ceiling right over her head, drywall. I am reasonably sure the lady shit her pants. There was a smell and a sound. She hopped up, freaking, "Oh my God, oh my God." So, ma'am, this happens. It's not a big deal. I'll fix it. I'll do all the drywall work. This happens. She's freaking out. I go up in the attic to help Josh get out of the hole. Of course, we got to go down in there, make sure he's not hurt. Legs, a little skin up. Of course, we got to go down there and clean up all our stuff, vacuum everything, all the insulation, and go get a piece of drywall, come back, cut a piece of drywall, patch this hole. So that adds an extra day or two on the job because now I got to wait for drywall. But, yeah, it goes. Now I got to go paint match a ceiling, which is impossible. Ceilings never stay the same color after they get painted the first time. It's where all your dust, it's where all your crap collects. So what you really end up doing is just repainting the whole damn ceiling. Of course, these open floor plan homes, where do you stop? There's no borders. So it's like, crap, do I put a line, do I drop a tape line here at the dining room, or do I just go ahead and paint the dining room ceiling too? I got paint left over. You know, old Josh, old Moose, good kid, man. Still stay in contact with him, talk to him every once in a while. Love that dude. But we didn't have enough work. We're still just getting by. Me and Rachel are struggling. Barely got enough money to pay Josh and get us anything. And of course, I'm still healing, recovering from this damn fall. And I mean, you don't get over something like that in a couple. It takes a year or two, before you kind of get back to normal. In the meantime, the guy that owned the foundation company, his name was Paul Russian. Century Foundation Repair. Paul was in his late 70s at the time. Paul was a Vietnam vet. According to Paul, he was some kind of special forces badass. He told so many bullshit stories at some point you just didn't know what to believe anymore. But in the beginning, I believed them all because I liked old men and I liked the stories they had to tell. Paul had a story for everything. Apparently, he was a Navy SEAL. He was the baddest son of 50 they ever put in the U.S. military. And Only reason they ever lost anything is because he left. You know, one of these types. Couldn't tell Paul nothing about nothing. Paul knew everything about everything. I tell him about some problem I was having on the job. Paul, boy, he had an answer. Well, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to do. Boy, if I was you, I'd have 50 grand in the bank right now. I don't know why you're struggling. I don't know how many times he told me that shit. I don't know how you're struggling, boy. Boy, if I was your age, I'd have 50 grand in the bank already. And he supposedly had a bunch of money. He had nice trucks and all that kind of stuff. And had a big old piece of land, and you know, everything everybody else was doing was wrong, according to Paul. He was the only one that had any of it figured out. Paul's one of them guys, you know. Oh man, you tell he been a tough old son 50 back in the day. We had talked a couple times. He wanted to sell me his foundation repair business. He knew I knew how to do the job, and he knew me and Ernie worked well together. I knew most of his crew. I hadn't been around him in a while. I've been busy doing my own thing, recovering from this accident. Paul hit me up in January. He said, "You got a job right now?" I said, "No." I said, "We're dried up. We ain't got any work right now. January's worst time in the world to be a contractor." He said, "Well, you got one now. I got this lady down in Houston. She needs a back patio resurfaced, concrete resurfacing. You knew I did a bunch of concrete masonry work. She got a laundry list of stuff she needs, and so we go down there. Of course, she does, and we end up putting a drainage system in her backyard and redoing this concrete patio. And those are crazy because we were driving. Me and Josh were driving from Willis to Houston like 6 in the morning to work, and then get home at like 7, 8 in the evening, just wiped. Just I miss those car rides. Me and Josh had similar taste in music. We were always listening to hip hop and stuff that we were both into. And Josh had a good ear for music, man. He liked Otis Redding. He liked music way older than himself. He was 21. He was a good hand, man. We had a good time. He broke my heart one day. We was going down the road. I was listening to an Eminem song, and I never thought of myself. This is like the time when I become the old dude on the job site. It happens real quick. You go from just being a dude trying to make a living to being the old dude on the job site real quick. It's like a month. If you cripple yourself up, it happens even faster. He was 21. I was 39, getting ready to turn 40. And we are coming up I-10 one day, was listening to this Eminem song. He goes, "Oh, I love this song. It reminds me of riding in my dad's truck when I was a kid." And I was like, "Get the hell out of my truck, you young son of a bitch." He talking about? That's a new song, man. It was not, in fact, a new song. That's where we were down there working one day, and I accidentally I was pulling some fascia off, some hardy fascia off, had a big old long number 2 nails through it, and I pulled it off, and I had it kind of rigged up so it was hanging on the gutter where I could do something. And is it this hand or this? It's this hand, I think. There ain't even a mark there anymore, I don't think. Maybe it's that hand. I can't remember. Anyways, I pulled one of these back, rigged it up, went up to working up underneath this gutter, trying to figure out what all was rotted behind the fascia. And that thing slipped and shot back, and it shot those two number 2 nails right One of them went through this part of my thumb, and the other one, the fatty part right under the meat, your base of your thumb, and the other part went in that there's a little piece of skin between your thumb and your forefinger, and just and it went through so fast that it nailed my hand shut like that, like. I was like, crap, hurt like a dickens. I ain't gonna lie. I know I hollered and cussed a little bit. Josh hopped up on another ladder and helped me. Well, I remember when he pulled my hand off it, like my hand was like stuck to that thing. So I got a hole through my hand here going into there, and then another hole through the fatty part of my thumb. And it hurt like a dickens, but it didn't think like it felt like it hit the bone, like bounced off the bone or something. But it didn't feel like anything was broke. You forget once you've been on them job sites that long that people ain't used to that kind of behavior. But I just told Josh, I go, hey, hang here, keep working on what you're working on. I'm gonna run to Walgreens and give me some peroxide. So I try to find me a little Walgreens down off Westheimer, and I go down there and get me some peroxide and some stuff to bandage myself up with, tape it all up, keep it clean. Now, the fun thing about having young people working for you in this age and time is that when I was leaving Walgreens, I just happened to pop on Facebook, look at my Facebook, see what Rachel's up to. And sure enough, I see Josh in my Facebook feed, and he's posted pictures of him sitting out there with all the tools cleaned up, like, hey, I'm getting off work early today. What y'all trying to do? And I thought, you got nothing coming. And I pulled up that driveway. He was standing there with all them tools packed. I said, what are you doing, bud? Hey, so I figured we had to go home with your hand all jacked up. I was like, no, I'm doctored up. I'm ready to go back to work now. I got some Tylenol. What? But dude, we got to get this job finished. We had to pull all them tools back out, go back to work. Well, you could tell he was pissed. If we wore glasses, we got pissed. He'd be pushing them glasses up all the time. I bet he learned some shit working with me, whether he wants to admit it or not. I know there's times he wanted to strangle me, but a couple nights later, Paul Russian calls me. Meet me over at this gas station. I want to talk to you. I go over to this gas station, talk to him. He said, look, I'm about to have all kind of surgery. I'm gonna be out for a while. And wonder if maybe you're interested in buying my company. I said, yeah, I'm interested in buying it, but I ain't got no money, Paul. Ah, I know. What I was thinking, I turn all the equipment and everything over to you, and supposedly he was making all kind of money every month. He showed me the numbers, to back it up. He said, you make you about 50 grand a month. All I want you to do is pay me $10,000 a month. But I want cash money. I want it in a paper sack. I don't want no checks. Cash money. He said, I'll shake your hand. We'll make a handshake deal. Well, I wanted to make that money. Sometimes you can let your greed, and I'm real careful now about what I pursue because of this man. All I saw was them dollar signs. Boy, I could give my wife nice things. Maybe get me a newer, finer pickup like Mr. Paul got. Boy, I got in my head. Went home and talked to Rachel about it. She said, yeah, we can do a contract with him, all this and that. And she drew up a contract. Something happened they had to run him into surgery earlier. And called me up right after surgery, and me and Rachel were broke. We didn't have any jobs, we didn't have anything going on. He called me up right after surgery. He said, "Hey man, I think we need to go ahead and do this deal." I said, "Well, Rachel drew us up a contract." He said, "Yeah, bring me that contract. I'll take a look at it." He said, "I'm gonna call Anthony." Anthony was his lead man, his foreman. He said, "I'm gonna call Anthony over to the house, and we'll all get together, have a little powwow." We go over his house, man. He's jacked up. What happens? He had a tumor in his pituitary gland, up where all your hormones are mixed. And that tumor went crazy, and they had to go in there and get that tumor, which is a very difficult surgery and has a lot of side effects I didn't know about then. I sure know about them now. And well, that didn't work out at all. He was going to be out. He was barely conscious, barely. He was a mess. He said, "You go ahead." Should have known something was up. He didn't want to give me the phone. That was part of the deal. Is he's supposed to give me the phone and the phone number? No, I'll hold on to the phone for right now. I know how to talk to these people. You don't know how to talk to these people yet. No. I'll talk to these people. I'll get you the jobs. You just go do the jobs. Of course, Rachel wasn't happy with me because we didn't have a contract signed yet, but she trusted me to do what was best for the family, and I thought I was. This is all the reason I don't do stuff without talking to my wife anymore. Me and her, we went through some shit about this, and it was all my fault, 100%. But I took that deal. I took that deal with the devil. It's also worth noting that Paul told me right before he had to have all the surgery and everything. He said, "Boy, did you hear about me and the Montgomery Sheriff's Department?" I said, "No, I didn't hear nothing about that." He said, "Boy, they come out and raided my house." And I said, "Well, what did they come out and raid your house about?" He said, "Oh, it was just taxes, stuff like that." They said I owed some tax money, the IRS. So, shit, I didn't know no better. It sounded legit to me. I heard worse stories about the IRS, and I knew the old man kept a bunch of cash around. And I thought, yeah, that sounds like something the government would do. So I took his word on that. I said, "All right, Paul, we'll go ahead and do this deal." And skip bang boom, we were in it. And it started out pretty good. He had a bunch of jobs lined up he couldn't do. And I went over there, picked up, he had a nice work trailer, had a good drill built for it and everything for drilling the foundation piers, and had all the stuff he needed to do the job. But what I didn't know is that he had already been shut down for a little bit. That's why he had so much work backed up. And on top of being shut down, his crew was mostly just labor guys that he'd been using from over in the hood over on the north side of Texas from Acres Home. Paul would go down there in the cut and hire everybody in the cut and then pay them daily. And then he was screwing them. I found out all kind of stuff after I took over. I found out all kind of things that he hadn't told me about. First of all, he's barely paying these guys enough to survive, paying them 50 and $60 a day. I wasn't going to do that. I'm not that kind of human being. Like, good Lord, I was making $50 a day as a laborer in the 90s. You know, I wasn't about to try to pay grown ass men $50, $60 a day to dig all day. The only thing made me scared about was I had Ernie on my side, old engineer, and old engineer was turning me on to some work. And the problem is, all Paul had left of his crew was a bunch of ne'er-do-wells. He had Anthony, the guy that run the crew, Mr. Anthony, but Mr. Anthony is 58 years old. And I didn't know all the history behind Mr. Anthony and Paul, but Mr. Anthony had been stealing from Paul for years, and Paul knew it, but Paul just sort of tolerated it because he was loyal. And you hear that a lot. Willie Nelson famously said that. Somebody said, "Hey, man, all these guys that are hanging around you are stealing from you." And Willie's like, "Yeah, but they're loyal." Of course, I get out there and start tackling his jobs, his old customers. What's going on? Well, I'm buying the company from Paul, be the new face of the company. And all right, all right. Now, at the time, all I had was that little 2000 GMC Z71. That wasn't going to be enough to make it work, right? You need a little better truck of that. Well, part of the deal was with the company was supposed to come Paul's truck. Paul had a little LBZ, old Cat Eye Chevrolet, but Paul didn't want to give up his truck. He was already reneging on the deal. I should have walked away then, but if I hadn't been desperate and broke, I probably would have. No. Also, I'll tell you what I do got. He said, I got a good truck out here. I'll sell you about $2,000. And I just sold my first big job for him. It was about a $12,000 drain system we're going to do over in Grand Harbor. Big old set of drains. Well, I needed a truck to haul shit with. My truck just wasn't going to keep up. Well, I got this 1999 1-ton Chevrolet. Got 350 in it. One of the best trucks I ever had. Old 4-door crew cab Chevrolet. 2-wheel drive, long bed, crew cab. The thing, I think it was about 30 foot long. It was a long ass truck. I went out there, messed with it a little bit, got it jumped off, got it running, drove it out of there that day, went and got it inspected, registered. It's a pretty solid little old pickup. Wasn't no beauty queen, just old tan. I got a picture of it. That's it with my dump trailer loaded on it. He had that dump trailer that was part of the deal. He had the other trailer, had all the tools and the drill and everything in it. That was all part of the deal. Well, I put that truck to work immediately. Put Josh in charge of it. Josh was running running the old long truck, man. I'd have Josh go pick up the crew. All Paul had left of his crew was the old Mexican dude that everybody called Mota, who had a bad foot, was in the 70s, but Mota could outdig half of everybody I knew. And old Mr. Anthony, and a guy named Pete who was in his late 50s too. And Pete was just an idiot. Pete just this dude. I got nothing good to say about Pete. Pete didn't do nothing but steal from me and everything else. Try to steal from the customers before I finally got rid of his ass. Caught Pete stealing from me red-handed when I fired him. Stealing there was a couple grinders. Caught him stealing them red-handed. Shit had been disappearing. I had a feeling where it was going. And Paul's health was up and down, but he still wasn't himself. He could barely get out of bed, do anything. Of course, that first month comes, I take him his $10,000 in cash, and everybody's cooning Tata. Boy, I sure wish he started right then. I sure wish he could come up with a little more money. I said, well, we agreed on this 10 days. Yeah, but I'm just saying, boy, if I let you borrow $25 and you give me $5 today, I can't even go buy a hamburger with that. He was always poor mouthing me about how broke he was all of a sudden. I was like, boy, I thought you was big money. You know, you selling me all this. You was big money, Paul, boy. You was making all the money. Well, I just got some stuff going on, some legal stuff and that raid. And I don't have any excuse for y'all. It was dumb on my part. I just stuck with it. I didn't know what else to do at that point. I was between a rock and a hard place. Bought that truck. We started using that truck. Started doing some of these big drain jobs, some of these big foundation jobs. Of course, I had to go hire more guys. Eventually, ended up hiring a bunch of Josh's friends. Hired a brother's named Joel. What was the other one's name? Joel. Damn, if I can't remember his little brother's name. His little brother came to work for me too. One of their friends, Tarlin. One of their buddies, Cody. Cody's guy we call Forklift. Big old strong ginger. Joel Huffmaster, man. I cannot for the life of me. I like the shit out of his little brother. I can't remember his name to save my life. A whole bunch of little Gen Z kids. But I don't know if generations have as much to do as where you're from. And these kids were just poor Montgomery County kids, blue collar Montgomery County kids, and they knew how to work. That daggum Joel and Eric. Eric was his brother. That daggum Joel and Eric, boy, they were digging fools. Another little fella named Clee, and Mr. Anthony's nephew, who we call Cricket. Well, we had us a crew, man. We were doing the big jobs. We were fixing foundations all over Montgomery, Texas, man. And the kids got to calling that old 1-ton, they called it long bus tarantula. Because when you hook that dump trailer up to it, boy, it's like driving a semi truck. That thing was so freaking long. Old long bus tarantula, boy. And that old truck, as work trucks do, started falling apart, you know. It was also a crazy time to be in business because the home market in Conroe had exploded. But the problem is all around that lake, you had one or two things. You either had a brand new house or pretty new construction, or you had something that was built by some mouth breather 50 years ago that, regardless, at no time in any of this construction was there any kind of permitting going on. I mean, there was, but when I used to go get permits from the city of Conroe to do stuff, I'd go down there and pay them for the permit. And they'd be like, okay, you got to have engineering inspection, all this and that. And basically, I would tell them, yeah, I'm working with Ernie and he's going to come out and inspect it. And they'd be, okay, well, just let us know how the inspection goes. They didn't send nobody out to inspect anything, check anything. Conroe was a mess. They were having all kind of political problems. That wasn't for us to worry about. We just wanted to work, man. We started taking on the jobs, and I'm telling you, we were doing, bro. Some of them houses we were leveling out in the lake should have been knocked down, you know. But they were poor folks, and they didn't have a pot to piss in and a window to throw it out of. So I'd give them a deal and go level their house. But you never really had to worry about them. The people that didn't have money, like I've said that before, they pay you right on time, like they're supposed to. It's the ones that think they got money that would try to rob you. Stop me if I told you a story before. Just kidding, you can't. This is what I gotten so good at dealing with these people at this point that I had kind of figured them out. And we were leveling a bunch of houses for this guy. He was a home flipper, right? He bought and flipped homes all over the country, right? He was a slick talker, boy. He always had a line of shit 9 miles wide coming out of his mouth. We would So he gave us about 4 or 5 of these houses. He wanted to level these houses, properties he was going to buy and flip, or properties he had bought and he was going to flip. And we were gonna we are gonna go level all these homes for him, right? We're gonna get it done for old boy. We leveled the first 2 or 3 houses. That went fine, no problems. We got down to the last house. I had made him pay me a deposit, but he was supposed to show up that day with a final check for all the rest of the homes we had leveled. We were working on the very last one. And I had the whole crew under the house, jacks and blocks. We was working on leveling that house. We had that house basically up in the air on them jacks. Well, here shows up old home flipper. I suspect he's got my check. I go over there, tell the guys take a breath. Go talk to homeboy about some business. And I get over. We're standing about 20 foot from the house, and old boy starts giving me the spiel. He said, "Well, I flip these houses all over the country, right? I do all this house flipping, and well, we've been doing these ones in Ohio. We had to transfer some funds up there, and because we had to transfer these funds to that Ohio bank account to deal with this Ohio house, and I just stopped. I go, let me stop you right there. Please tell me this story ain't leading up to you ain't got my money." And when I said that, you just heard a cacophony of like 9 dudes under the house start cracking up. They were listening in. He said, "Well, I'm just saying that we got our funds, stuck up a little bit." I said, "This really sounds like it's leading to you ain't got my money." "Well, I'm just trying to explain the situation to you, Mr. Jerry." I said, "No, we had an agreement, and this is the second time you've been late." I said, "I tell you what," I said, "we're just going to put this one on the ground. You figure out what to do with it till you come up with that money." And he said, "Well, you wouldn't do that." I said, "Y'all bring all my blocks out from underneath that house. Those are my blocks. I bought them this morning. Y'all bring every one of my blocks out from underneath that house, and y'all start jacking that house down." And they knew what to do. Guys just started clanging jacks. Or, boy, you got paid. Oh, hold on. Wait a minute. Just look. I can write you a check right now. I was just trying to explain the situation. Like, yeah, I don't need an explanation, son. I just need a check. It's the unpleasant part of contracting is you have to deal with people trying to screw you around a lot. Boy, all of a sudden he ain't had no problem writing me a check though. Wrote that check quick, fast, and easy, and I had the guys finish that house up. We went on to the next one. I didn't never do no more houses for him. And then on he called me, boy, I was a little too busy to screw with that guy. Yeah. Because you get over on you call somebody out like that, they're going to be trying to figure out how to get it back at some point. There's a bunch of crooks in the I've told y'all before, it was just all these guys decided they were home builders. And what they were doing out there at Lake Conroe to make more lakefront property is they were going out there and dredging canals into the lake. So they just buy a bunch of land on the side of the lake, these developers, and then they go out there and dredge these canals up. And lakefront living, you can live on the canal, you can drive your boat right in the lake, da da da. What they do is they dredge these canals out, they pile that old caliche and garbage on top of the bank, and these fly by night home builders for these developers come out there and build them houses, right? There's plenty of foundation work in Montgomery, Texas. Plenty of foundation work. And we're getting, a little bit of chunk of it, enough that I could make a little money, take him $10,000 in a paper sack every month for a while. And he started getting weird. He just wanting more money all the time. We're scrabbling at this point. We're working all the time, man. And my payroll's insane, you know. I can't even remember what I was putting out every week, but I was putting out a ton of money every week in payroll. Had this one old dude work for us named Eno Innocente. We call him Eno. Innocente, man. Innocente was a hard working dude, man. And I like old Eno, man. He didn't like everybody's horseplay and bull crap. Eno just wanted to get the job done. And he was one of those that made the magic happen. Oh, what's funny is I had those black dudes on my crew. The 5 black dudes on my crew, 4 of them were terrified of snakes. Terrified of snakes, which is It's a very dumb thing if you're crawling under houses to level houses in Texas to be scared of snakes. And we were doing this little house out in on Alaska, Texas, and crawling up underneath this house. And water moccasins, when a water moccasin's up underneath the house, you can smell it. The water moccasin's pit viper, and it takes things back to its little thing, and it digests stuff, and then it kind of craps out what's left of it. It didn't digest, and all that stuff rots, decomposes, and whew, smells awful. Smells like decomposition. You crawl in our house, you smell that, you figure there's a dead raccoon or possum up under there. But usually those are much stronger. This would be like a faint smell. You smell that just faintly, probably water moccasin, some kind of pit viper, rattlesnake, something got some kind of little hovel up there. We had more water moccasins because we was around the lake. I told them guys went up around the house, I smelled that thing. I said, well, y'all keep an eye out. I think there's daggum water moccasin under here. Don't get me wrong, in water moccasins, they don't want to be in closer to you than you want to be to them. We'd take our shovels, little sharpshooter shovels, we'd sharpen them. If you saw a snake, you just off that booger in half. Is good for cutting tree roots too. We take our little sharpshooter shovels and cut them in half, the handle, and then take a piece of steel pipe and stick each end of the handle in that steel pipe, and then rivet them in, and then you use that little shovel and you sharpen the blade. And boy, you talk about a root chopping son of 50. You chop through pine roots like they ain't nothing. Whop, whop, whop. You can dig you a hole with that kind of shovel. Go right through that clay. I always had me a machete, a couple knives around in case you found something underneath one of them houses, whatever, trying to get at us. Occasionally you run across a raccoon, something acting a fool one. Raccoons are kind of beastly when you get them cornered. They're mean little son of 50s. We was under the house. I told them, I said, boy, I think there's a snake under this house. Y'all keep an eye out. Well, now the black dudes that are scared of snakes don't want to come under the house. So it's me and Eno and Cody, and we're up and down the house, and the dudes are handing us the blocks because they don't want to get under the house. They're all worried about the snake now. I had this old machete I was dragging around under there, and well, we was laid up under the far end of this house. That smell was real strong over there. And I was trying to hammer some shims in up under this up under the beam, and I heard go, "Hey, Mr. Yerry, yeah, what's up? I need your knife." Okay, he was kind of behind me with the jack, getting ready to jack up a new spot. I had that machete clipped to my belt. I unclipped it and pulled that machete out, handed it to him. I hear him kind of crawling around, and I hear a little scuffle. And whoop, whoop, whoop. And I got him. I look over there. It's about I don't know, 2 or 3 foot water moccasin with his head chopped off. Takes a red shop rag out of his pocket, wraps the head of that water moccasin up in it, hands me my machete back. And he takes the rest of that snake and climbs out from under the house. And I heard all them black dudes when he come out from under the house, I said, "Good God, what? Oh, Jesus." And then went and did something. I heard them all completely like, "Man, what the hell, man? I ain't riding with that in the truck. Man, what the hell, man?" Gets back earlier. We finish the job. We get out. Dudes that don't like snakes are all worked up. Man, I ain't getting in that truck, Miss Jerry. What's wrong, man? Man, that damn would bring this little igloo cooler every day with his lunch in it. He's that damn igloo. He's that damn put that snake in that cooler. What's he gonna do with that snake, Miss Jerry? What's he gonna do with that snake, Miss Jerry? I say, "Oh, I don't know, man. It's his snake. He killed it." I said, "It's dead. It can't get you." I ain't getting in the truck, Miss Jerry. I said, "Well, shit, it's a long walk back to Houston, son. I don't know what to tell you, you can't all ride with me. I got my guys ride with me. This is what the crew truck's for." At that time was driving the crew truck for me. Nah, Miss Jerry, this ain't right. This ain't right. I said, bro, you scared of a dead ass snake. That snake can't get you. Man, I want nobody to put that snake in that lunchbox. We never found out why, put the snake in the lunchbox, but I figured he had a good reason. You know, I don't know if he ate it or made something out of it. What the hell he did. All during this time, old Paul's getting worse. Boy, he's getting hungry for more money, and our work's slowing down because Paul's got control of the phone number. And he can't tell me why work's slowing down, but all I know is work's slowing down. We're not getting near as many calls. We're not getting near, and we're doing a whole bunch of warranty work for work that he did way back in the day. And we're finding all kind of crap his guys rigged up and didn't do right. So now this warranty work's costing me a bunch of money because I'm having to fix all kind of shit they rigged up and took somebody's money in. I say something, Mr. Paul, about, oh no, you just need how to talk to them warranty customers. There's always a reason to void a warranty. That's not the kind of businessman I want to be, Paul. But that's how you make money, son. That's how you make money. That ain't the kind of stuff I want to do. So meanwhile, I'm still out here doing all his warranty work, losing my ass on it. And the calls ain't coming in. Rachel and I are struggling. Of course, we're arguing and fussing and fighting because I didn't stick to what we said we were going to do. I didn't make him sign a contract. Now we're stuck in this thing. We're not making. I'm giving him $10,000 every month, and we're getting maybe two. You know, and we don't have money for all the groceries we need. We don't have money to pay all the bills. We're getting behind on stuff. I'm not honoring my wife. This big example. If I decided I was going to do what I thought was the right thing or what I thought needed to be done to get us out of this hole after my fall, and instead of listening to my wife, treat my wife like a partner, I just decided I knew best and I was going to do what I thought was best. I mean, I didn't ever sit down and make that decision, but that's how I was behaving. And she's more and more distrustful of Paul by the day. I catch Pete stealing from me. I fire Pete. Mr. Anthony starts having kidney problems, man. He's got all kind of health problems all of a sudden. He can't really hardly do the job anymore, to be honest with you. He couldn't hardly do the job when I started him back working. He's just getting to you get too old and broken down, your body can't handle that crap anymore. And the crew didn't respect him because they kept catching him asleep in the truck and this and that. And I don't remember what happened, but Anthony, for whatever reason, Anthony was struggling to keep up. I said, man, I said, you need to take some time off, get this thing figured out. What's going on? He was peeing like dark brown and stuff, but he dude drank like a fish, you know. I said, man, you can go figure out what's going on with you. Meantime, I'll take over your responsibilities and run the crew. He also took me off the road selling. I was out there having to run the jobs now. Money starts getting tighter, man. I can't make $10,000. I ain't pulling in $10,000 a month at this point. Spend half my money on payroll. I'm still giving Anthony a little money because I'm worried about the dude. You know, we become friends. I noticed one day I'm missing all kind of shit, man. I go look for my welding machine. My welding machine's gone out in the storage building. We're missing all kind of stuff. I can't figure it out to save my life. Old Mota tells me Mota was still coming around doing some jobs every once in a while. Mota says, "Oh, it's Anthony. He steals everything." Well, I thought that was just some black folks versus Mexican folks type shit. Like, can't believe old Anthony would steal from me. I tell you, it's Mr. Anthony. Well, I had let Anthony borrow that 1-ton truck for a long time while his truck was broke down. Well, Anthony being sick, I said, man, I'm gonna need that truck back because we got to use it for the jobs. Yeah, yes, sir, yes, sir. So I go out to Anthony's house one day, pick up that truck. Come back. Of course, the truck's filthy. The guys don't give a shit about it. They just made a mess out of it. It's full of trash and dirty as hell. And I was like, well, I was pissed. I was like, man, it ain't much, but it's my damn truck. I decided I'm gonna clean the truck up, so I start cleaning that truck up. Lo and behold, I open the glove compartment. What do I find in the glove compartment? A whole bunch of pawn receipts in Anthony's name. There's my welder, and grinders, and saws, and all kind of equipment that we had in jacks and stuff we hadn't been able to find. Oh, Anthony had been running the pawn shop every night with a little bit of it. Anthony was sick. I didn't want to. I just cut him loose. And then he run my phone. He had a phone I'd provided for him. He run my phone bill up a whole bunch. That ended up costing me a bunch of money. I had to shut his. It was a mess. I don't ever want to be nobody's boss again because of Anthony. That one hurt me. He was stealing from me the whole time. I had put complete trust in this guy. He was just robbed me left and right. Boy, make matters worse. I get a phone call from a mutual friend of me and Paul's. He said, "Man, did you see the news?" I said, "No, what?" He said, "I was wondering how you felt about it. I know y'all been in business together." He said, "All that stuff about Mr. Paul was in the newspaper. There's this little thing up there called the Montgomery County Police Reporter. It was like an online website, and they would report all the stuff happening in Montgomery County." He said, "Boy, he's all over Montgomery County Police Reporter. I bet if I find the article, I'll put it up for you." That's what I opened the Montgomery County Police Reporter around. Montgomery man arrested on child pornography charges. His tax raid wasn't no tax raid. I don't know what all the old man did. All I knew is I needed to be distanced from him at that point. And on top of that, now I understand why the calls ain't coming in. People don't generally want to do business with somebody that's been in that. I'm frustrated. I don't know what to do. I'm stuck in a hard place. And, the jobs are slowing down. I'm having to let guys go. Me and Rachel have a big conversation where she's truthful with me about the way I've been acting. I don't like the way that I've made my wife feel. And grant we put in 1 year we put $100,000 in this guy's pocket and put about 20 in ours. Oh, I was pissed. Called him up. I confronted him about it, and he gave me a bunch of bullshit about how it wasn't his fault. It was his grandson or his daughter's boyfriend or some kind of shit, and they couldn't prove nothing. I was like, it doesn't matter if they can prove anything. All that matters is that this crap went down and your name's attached to it all over town, and now the business name is too. So you can't sell me a business that ain't worth what it was. And first of all, you ain't signed a contract. You ain't done none of the stuff you said you do. Paul said, "Boy, I'll take that company back over. I have 50 grand in my pocket." There you go again. I have 50 grand back in that pocket. I about decided you don't start paying me my money real quick. You don't come up with my money, I'm just going to take everything back. Boy, that struck me some kind of way. Then he told me he's going to go get a lawyer. He's going to sue me, take everything I own, including my house. And I didn't like that kind of threat. Here I am, been busting my ass trying to make things right with you, and while you were sick and down. And what I didn't know is the surgery they'd done on his pituitary gland didn't go well, and the dude was going crazy. Apparently, if your pituitary gland gets bumped or jacked around with it, just go. Guy was going crazy. But let's not excuse the fact that apparently he had been a dirt bag all along. Talked to Rachel about it. She said, "I think we should just get away from him." I said, "I do too." In fact, we went to see Blue October. Somebody gave us tickets to go see Blue October, and we went to go see Blue October play in concert. And they were playing that song, "I Want to Cover You in Man's Piece." talking about somebody screwing him. And I listened to that song in concert that night. I was like, I'm done with this son of a bitch. I don't know what my life's going to look like after, but I'm done with this son of a bitch. And the very next day, I had the boys meet me up at the yard, and we went through and we inventoried all Paul's equipment, and I took pictures of everything. And I loaded everything up in his trailers, and I hired a record company to come over there. And I said, this is the address you're going to take them trailers to. And I'm going to pay you extra. I'm going to tip you. When you get over, I need you to drop his stuff in his yard. I don't give a shit what he's got to say about it. And you're going to take pictures of you dropping it off, and I need those pictures. Yes, sir. Then I immediately called. I sent Paul a text message. I spoke to a lawyer. He said, "It's what you say, it's what you can't say." And I sent Paul a long text message. Said, "I ain't doing business with you anymore. You haven't honored the contract. Furthermore, you haven't signed the contract. I've paid you X amount of dollars. I have evidence. I was making him sign a receipt book every time I paid him. I have X amount of dollars. I have all these receipts. Oh, your number's wrong. Let me come run them jobs for you, show you how to make money." Well, I said, "No, I don't want to do any more business with you. Do you not get that? You've lied about everything. And I don't think this business is worth what you say it is." "Boy, I tell you what, you better not cross me, son." I said, "Your equipment's on its way to your house." Boy, after the equipment got over there, boy called me every name in the book. "Boy, where went all this? Where went all this? Where went all this?" I said, "Why don't you call your boy Anthony that was stealing it all from me left and right?" Not to mention, I put two pumps on that dump trailer, keeping that dump trailer running. I put all this money in there. "What about that truck? I bought that truck from you cash money. You ain't getting that damn truck back. Oh, long bus, that's mine." "What about that air compressor? I bought that air compressor from you cash money." It's a big old uh, air compressor like you pull behind a truck to run like old Ingersoll air compressor for running like a sandpiper pump, all that stuff. Well, you ain't getting that damn air compressor back. I paid you cash money for that. What about he had another drill I had bought off of another drilling little beaver drilling machine. Well, he wanted that back. You ain't getting that. I paid you for that cash money. I got a receipt for it. You want to holler about that? You can holler about that. He said, "Boy, you better watch yourself. I'm gonna be out there looking for you." Well, that's a threat. That's a direct threat. "Boy, you better watch yourself." And I've got a bunch of threats that he wrote in print by this point. Stuff he texted me, how he's going to sue me, take everything I had. And then in the next minute, talking about, "I'm going to sit outside your house tonight with a 30-06, wait for you to come out and smoke a cigarette," kind of threats. Like he went off the deep end. Meantime, I got to make a living. So I started a new company. I went and built my own driller. I had parts of a drilling machine I bought from you. And me and Joel built this other drilling machine from scratch. At this point, yeah, we built that drilling machine from scratch. We're going to start the company over from scratch. This is like 2017 by now. And Josh had to leave, which sucked. Josh went and got him a job selling BMWs, and I gave him my blessing to go because I wanted to see the kid continue to move forward. But I'm not gonna lie to you, a little part of me lost interest in it all when Josh quit. He was my favorite. He was my guy. And them kids worked hard, man. Sure, they did all the dumb shit kids do on a job site. There was a lot of grab ass and screwing off and playing on their phones. But there was also a lot of hard work pushing wheelbarrows full of concrete, digging holes underneath houses, climbing under houses, getting shocked by crap. The customers were all crazy. Some of them customers out there in the sticks, boy, they were so. We pulled up this one, old Miss Virginia. I love Miss Virginia. She was cool as hell. But we pulled up at her house and look at her house and walk up the front steps. She said, "Can y'all see what's wrong with this thing? It's all cattywampus." What's that? It's cattywampus. Okay. It does look cattywampus. Yeah, it's plumb cattywampus. I don't know if you fixed this house. They were all crazy. All these customers are crazy. And that's the nice ones. The ones that are a pain in the ass. Ones with a little bit of money on you. They're the ones that are always trying to get you, you know. I'm gonna sue you. I'm gonna do it. Everybody's gonna sue you in Texas. I don't know if you know anything about Texas legal stuff. Suing anybody in Texas wastes time. Only people get any money when you sue people in Texas, lawyers in the courthouse. You can get a judgment in Texas against somebody. You can't do crap about it. Ask me. I've had to sue some people. I've had to get some liens on some people that didn't want to pay to try to screw me around. I knew I was done with Paul at that point. I wasn't gonna work for the devil no more. After I found out that crap. Old loan bus, man. That old truck. I don't know how many times the doors got so saggy. I tried to fix them doors. I hired some. I've told you I hired somebody to fix them doors. We never could keep them doors lined up on that truck. The old truck was falling apart. It only ran on about 6 cylinders half the time. For whatever reason, the right bank was always oil fouling the plugs. I suspect the valve guides were leaking pretty bad in the heads. And it's just old Vortec 350. It had 9 million miles on it. It was finally reaching the end of its lifespan. And me and the guys go back to work. We're taking some remodeling jobs. We're doing a little bit of everything. It's mostly just me and Joel and Cody. We got some of the others working with us on the big jobs. But we took this remodeling job, it's the worst remodeling job I ever took. Uh, Not because the customers were great people, but they just had the worst taste in the world. We were doing this house in Huntsville, and the stuff this literally every piece of work in that kitchen came out beautifully, but I would never show anybody pictures of that job because these people had the absolute worst taste of anybody I've ever dealt with in my life. And we remodeled this kitchen, like gutted it and redid this kitchen. And finally get the end of that job. And whole time Paul's threatening me. I'm having to look over my shoulder everywhere I go just in case this crazy old Vietnam vet shows up and actually tries to kill me. And I'm paranoid as hell about it because he's crazy. He's telling everybody in town to listen to him. Well, he's gonna cut my throat. He's gonna get me. He's gonna do me in. I got people worried. Other contractors I know, like, man, I don't know if you carry a gun, but you might ought to. That old son of 50's crazy. People are his friends. That son of 50's crazy. I'd be carrying a gun if I was you. And I was. I had to leave the house without it back in. Of course, Mr. Bob was giving me advice. Mr. Bob's the one that told me to send all that stuff back to him, take pictures of it all, and make sure I could document all that for a lawyer in case the old man tried something crazy with me. Mr. Bob's trying to help me get out of it. He's like, I never did like that old fella. I think you just need to get the hell away from him. Me and Joel was out there hitting it hard, man, working our ass off. We finished that big remodeling job in Huntsville, man. It was a job. Every time we came back from it seemed like one of the trucks broke down. Loan bus broke down a couple times. I tossed a U joint down the side of 45 in the GMC. I remember I like pulled the cash out of my pocket, paying my guys while I'm waiting for a record to come pick up my truck, take me home on a Friday night. And I'm going home with maybe $200 in my pocket at the end of the week, and I'm over it. I think that was maybe the final straw for me. Old Long Bus kicked a rod or something coming back one night from that job. We had to pull into Pilot gas station over off Long Street. And old truck was done. Boy, wouldn't even pull itself out of its own way. It was knocking, rattling all to hell. And we had the whole back of that truck full of all that remodeling debris, old dishwashers and crap we'd taken out of the kitchen. I mean, piled to the top. I looked at that truck, what it was going to cost me to get it towed, put an engine in it, and then also go get rid of all that crap. And I left that truck there. Just left it. They called me, said they was going to tow it. I said, tow it. Good luck. At least y'all got to dump all the crap out of it. But by then the doors was hanging off, the transmission was slipping, rod knocking. Maybe it got crushed, maybe it did, maybe somebody built something out of it. If they did, good for them. But I didn't want anything more to do with it. I really, at that point, I was trying to get rid of everything Paul had touched. I didn't want anything with his energy on it involved in my company no more. Started a new company, kept doing jobs for Ernie. Ernie loved us. We kept working for Ernie, me and Joel. But I wasn't always busy enough to keep Joel employed all the time. And Joel wanted to go do some other stuff, and I didn't blame him. He needed to go find some more steady work. He had a kid. And Joel left with my blessing, man. I still love the shit out of that kid. I hope he's made a good life for himself. Him and his brother both. I liked them both. Their mom and dad was good people. Really liked them kids. Them kids taught when everybody was all I was hearing everybody, bitching about Gen Z and stuff. Like, man, these kids would show up every day for me and work, and I tried to treat them as fair as I could, and pay them as good as I could. They were certainly get paid more than any other laborers around. That's when me and I've told y'all that story. Me and old Daniel started hooking up, and I started using some of Daniel's subcontractors when I met old George and Gabby. And old Gabby and his crew started doing most of my jobs after I taught them how to do it. And old Gabby ended up with all that equipment. I liked old Gabby. But it's hell having to start over a business you done thought you started once. And I was making pretty good money once I switched to the subcontractors. Honestly, I wish that wasn't the truth. But once I got rid of all my employees and switched to subcontractors and was going in with contracts and stuff, I started doing pretty good. We started actually making some money and getting back on our feet, getting our vehicles fixed up and moving and grooving. That's when I bought that big old 3/4 ton Chevrolet, big old 4 door. I miss him. I miss him. Them boys at work, they were good boys. We lost one who died of a drug overdose. The rest of them, I think, all turned out pretty good. The rest of them, I think, all turned out pretty good. I ain't never talked to Mr. Anthony again in life. I just decided we were even. You stole as much scraps he stole from me. He didn't need a job from me no more. And that damn, I'll be honest with y'all, and I don't like to admit this too much, but I studied a long time on ending Paul. He kept making threats. He made a threat about my family. He made a couple threats I couldn't let go. And I would get done from work and I would go over and park by his house. I followed him to the store a couple times. Followed him to a couple doctor's visits. Thought long and hard how to get away with it and how to do it. And luckily, at some point, I had enough sense to understand I was going to cost myself my freedom and my family and everything else. And it just wasn't worth it, as long as he wasn't actually coming after me, which, just like everything else with him, turned out to be all talk. Because we did finally run into each other one day. Boy, he wanted to get away from me as quick as possible. He run his mouth a little bit in the beginning, but when I got out of the pickup and got a little redneck back with him, all of a sudden he decided he didn't want to have that conversation no more. He got away from me. He turned out he was full of shit about everything. I believed him. He Pied Pipered my dumb ass right down the road, and I fell for it hook, line, and sinker. Got them dollar signs in my eyes, and that's what happens. They say that in the Bible. You lay down with dogs, you get fleas. Something like that. And that's what I did. I laid down with a dog and got fleas. Not only that, got fleas all over my whole family. And then almost, really, if I'd have done something stupid, it would have cost myself my freedom and all of this. It ain't worth it, man. It really ain't worth it. Uh, I'm glad I came to that conclusion before I did something stupid. Ooh, I wanted to. I did. I wanted to finish him. He said some stuff about my family that got to me. Man, aren't threatened. You know, you shouldn't drag. You don't drag a man's family into stuff. There's a lot of people a lot less smarter than me and a lot more aggressive that wouldn't have come to the conclusion I did would have ended that old man. Sure, we've all felt that way some way. Everybody got somebody in their past they'd like just stomp a mud hole in and walk it dry. He's one of mine. I ain't got many. There's one or two. He's one of them. Now he's old man dying alone, and it doesn't matter to me anymore. But he would pop up every once in a while, even for years afterwards. He'd pop up. Oh, don't think because you're down in Houston, I can't find you. I'm like, bro, my name's on comedy club posters everywhere. I'm not hard to find. That's what cracks me up. People threaten me. I get threats online all the time. People threaten me. They're going to come whoop my ass and come get a piece of me. And I'm like, bro, everything I do is public and my schedule's public. It's not like I can hide. You know, you just got to make a decision if it's worth it to you. But promise you, I ain't going to make it easy on you. It's amazing me how some people act. How people say things thinking the stuff he said to me in print, and then he would threaten to sue me. I'm like, bro, you get in a courtroom, you're done. Now, one thing that did happen as a result of his, and it wasn't about getting him back, but um, the IRS come took my passport away in like 2017, 2018, and told me it was because of taxes I owed for 2015. Well, that's the year I fell off the roof and didn't work half the year. But it turns out that the people that took over the property bullshitted all the paperwork, tried to make it look like I made a bunch more money than I did. And we got to the bottom of it, and it took me 2 or 3 years with the IRS to straighten out. But one of the things that came as a result of having to straighten all that out with the IRS was there came a whole bunch of questions about that $100,000 I paid Paul. They want to know why I paid that man cash and, you know, where all that money went. And I can't tell you nothing about it. All I can tell you is that I took the man $10,000 in a paper sack one Saturday every month. Can tell you what, well, he's reporting he didn't make any income. And far the last thing I knew after I got all my stuff clear was they was going to check on him, find out where all that money went. I hope they found it. Boy, I think we wrap it up right there. Let's do some testimonials. Let's see. And I am prepared. Look at this. 3 weeks in a row, I'm prepared. Boy, I'm starting to actually have my shit together about this towards the end of the podcast. We're going to get it nailed down. Here we got here at Joey Ellis K8S. I've been down a lot of the same roads, brother. Glad we get smarter with age. You nailed this one. I know you're helping a lot of lost souls out there. You sure been making my Sundays better here in the West Virginia mountains. Man, I appreciate that, Bubba. I hope this helps somebody. Like maybe if you just understand that you're not as far gone as you think you are. And maybe if you just understand, well, oh boy, I thought I'd done some dumb shit, but this guy did some way dumber shit. So hell, I'll get it figured out already. But I hope it helps somebody. Thank you, Joey. I sure appreciate that. Let's see here. What's the next? And mm, all right, where'd it go? Oh, there it is. At Chad DeSantis 533. Oh, Chad. That Ray Wiley Hubbard song explains my entire religious philosophy in 2 lines. Oh, Ray nails it down in that song. Conversation with the Devil. That's a good one, boy. It nails down a lot of what I feel about it too. I uh, I don't discuss my faith publicly and often. I mean, I shared it a little bit with you guys last week, but I still don't. I don't put a lot of faith in religion. I don't put a lot of faith in churches either. Probably be a long time before I ever walk through the threshold of one again. I just don't have a lot of trust in those institutions. All right, this last one's a doozy. It's a long one, but we're gonna get through it. Let's see. That Daniel Shirk 5972. I have to admit, I have been oddly looking forward to this episode. I learned to drive in the mid 90s. I have a very clear memory of discovering that some vehicles tended to attract specific types of problematic drivers. Folks that drove Durangos couldn't seem to stay in a lane or a parking spot. Young women in Jettas were prone to sudden and unpredictable lane changes. That's all Jettas. But no vehicle seemed to more reliably attract terrible drivers than the Ford Contour. Almost without exception, every single one I encountered was engaged in some sort of vehicular jackassery. 40 miles an hour in the left lane on the interstate, left turns from right lanes, just randomly stopping in the middle of the daggone road. I had no idea what it was about that vehicle that appealed to terrible drivers, but it was like ducks to water. I was dying to hear your stories. I couldn't reconcile that deep bias with my image of you as a driver. Though it does not sound as if this was a high point in your journey, I suspect that the takeaway here was more about releasing my prejudices than about your driving. Fair enough. Yeah, I did some dumb shit in that car. Whew. So I'm not 100% sure your prejudice is wrong. I woke up when that car, I woke up that Ford Contour one time on I-10 with the left fender just grinding against the median, just sparks coming up the window. Probably wasn't just you. On a different note, I can't express how much I appreciate what you're doing here. This has been the best part of my year, bar none. Each episode has been the best part of my week, and I can't stop chatting with people about the show. Your reminiscing is contagious, and I've been reminded of more happy memories than I could have imagined. Tough ones too, but perhaps we're both of an age that we can finally appreciate the flavor of bittersweet. My favorite part of every episode is when you finish by saying that you're rooting for us. I wasn't quite sure why that seemed so genuine until I re listened to the whole series over the last 2 weeks. Oh, sorry. Upon a second consideration, it became clear that you possess the inclination to recognize the best parts of each person in your life. It does not appear to blind you to the very human faults that the adults in your life demonstrated. Rather, it simply comes across as if the most important thing about those individuals to you is the best parts. And that may be a genuine gift. Personally, I tend towards being a bit more critical of the folks around me, but I suspect your way may be better. So consider being inspired to perceive a bit more like JW would. I think it might just make me a better person. Thank you again for all you do. Thank you for that, brother. Daniel, all I can tell you, it has taken me a very long time to get to a place like that. And a lot of work and a lot of looking at myself and my own flaws and a lot of learning to study those and see what I want differently out of the next situation. It's not always easy. There's a lot of people I talk about that I had to really swallow some animosity and some feelings I had at some point about that person or about a situation that happened with us. But I tried to do my best, and I really appreciate you recognizing it because I don't want a legacy of negativity. I want a legacy of love. When I leave this planet and I'm done saying all the things I need to say, I want there to have been more things I said out of love than out of anger. I still struggle with it because I can still be an angry person when I want to be. God knows I went on a tear this morning that I'm not happy with myself about. I've been beating myself up about it all day. I appreciate you recognizing that I'm trying to do better, and if that inspires somebody else, then that's even better. Love you for that, Bo. All right, let's wrap this thing up. I think Faustian proposals are thrown at us more often than we realize. You know, all those songs, tales, and poems about it over the years means it's been happening a long time. I don't think it's the actual devil. I think you meet the devil in people. You know, I'm not a big heaven and hell devil, and you know, like I don't like to personify it, but I think a lot of people got the devil in them. And the thing I learned, you know, if something sounds too good to be true, then it most likely is, and that has been true of my life almost 100% of the time, except for Rachel. Rachel, I got Rachel. I thought that was too good to be true. Turns out it's just true. She's amazing. Everything else has been sort of a letdown. I want to, when I was writing this episode, I kept thinking about this song that is one of my favorite songs. It's by Chris Christopherson. And the song is called Beat the Devil. And I'd like to recite for you guys. There's a particular verse in there I kept thinking about. But also, you know, like I always tell you, I'm rooting for you. I am rooting for you. I 100% want to see y'all make it. I want to see you find the happiness and the joy in your lives. You've already found it. I want you to help other people find it. I'm rooting for you. I want to see the obstacles out of your way. I want to see your lives improve. And if some devil, some person with the devil in them approaches you saying all the right things, what I can tell you is the best thing you can do is smile, shake their hand, drink their beer, and get the hell out of there. Don't alert them you're running from them, but don't give them any quarter. And I'm gonna recite this verse for you, and we'll get out of here. How about that? It's from a song called "Beat the Devil" by Chris Christopherson. The song's actually a little bit about Johnny Cash. You know, it's about a story about him and Johnny Cash. You should go listen to it. It's a fantastic piece of music. Well, the old man was a stranger, but I'd heard his song before. Back when failure had me locked out on the wrong side of the door. When no one stood behind me but my shadow on the floor, and lonesome was more than a state of mind. You see, the devil haunts a hungry man, and if you don't want to join him, you got to beat him. I ain't saying I beat the devil, but I drank his beer for nothing, and then I stole his song. Check that jam. It's a good jam. As always, I'm rooting for you. You haven't be out and about. Uh, I don't got any more shows coming up after Christmas, but I got a few things coming up in January. Going to do some more running around Texas, and then we're actually going to Louisville, Kentucky. Mr. G's, January 25th. So you're in the Louisville area, we're going to be there. We're going to have a good time. And then February, I got a little run through Oklahoma. We're working on some Florida stuff for March. I think we'll shut it down for the night. I'm JW. I love you. If you waste your time a talking to the people who don't listen to the things that you are saying, who do you think's gonna hear? And if you should die explaining how the things that they complain about are things that they could be changing, who do you think's gonna care? There were other lonely singers in a world turned deaf and blind, who were crucified for what they tried to show. And their voices have been scattered by the swirling winds of time, 'cause the truth remains that no one wants to know.